Have you ever seen a kid get pushed around, picked on, and just take it? What happens when those bullies mess with the wrong kid? This is the story of Alex, a 16-year-old high school student. At Lincoln High, there are two types of students, the ones who play by the rules and the ones who break them. But what happens when the bullies, thinking they can humiliate someone without consequences, realize they've made a huge mistake? Alex was always the target. They laughed at him, stole his lunch, and humiliated him every single day. Little did they know, Alex wasn't just any kid. He was about to turn fear into strength, and his revenge would be legendary. Stick around until the end to see how an ordinary student became the bully's worst nightmare. Trust me, you won't believe what happened in that fight. Alex had always been an easy mark. He was smaller than most kids his age, quiet, and preferred to stay out of trouble. While other guys played football during recess, he sat alone, sketching superheroes in his notebook. His clothes weren't the trendiest, his backpack was old, and he never fought back when someone shoved him. That's why the school bullies loved tormenting him. Jake, the leader of the group, was the worst. Tall, strong, and always surrounded by his crew, he saw Alex as the perfect victim. Every day, Jake found a new way to humiliate him, knocking his books out of his hands, tripping him in the hallway, or making fun of his drawings. A fighter. And no one would ever mess with him again. So what did you think of Alex's transformation? Have you ever seen a bully get what they deserved? Tell us in the comments below. One afternoon, as Alex walked past the lockers, Jake and his gang blocked his path. "Where do you think you're going, nerd?" Jake sneered, grabbing Alex's backpack. "Got anything interesting in here? Maybe some love letters to your imaginary girlfriend?" His friends burst into laughter as Jake unzipped the bag and dumped its contents onto the floor. "For you, a free like is easy, but for me, it is the greatest support and encouragement. For this video, can you give me 1 like and 1 subscription? Thank you very much." Papers, pencils, and Alex's notebooks scattered everywhere. The worst part, his sketchbook, filled with drawings of warriors and superheroes, landed right at Jake's feet. Jake picked it up and flipped through the pages. "Wow, look at this, guys! Little Alex thinks he's some kind of comic book artist. Hey, maybe one day you can draw yourself some muscles." The hallway echoed with cruel laughter. Alex clenched his fists but didn't say a word. He had learned long ago that fighting back only made things worse. But what nobody knew was that something inside him was already changing. This time, he wasn't just going to take it. This time, he was going to fight back. At Lincoln High, Jake and his gang ruled the school like kings. Teachers turned a blind eye, either too afraid or too indifferent to stop them. The other students, they just stayed out of their way, hoping not to become the next target. Alex had been dealing with their torment for years. He had learned to keep his head down, to walk fast, to avoid eye contact. But no matter what he did, it was never enough. Every day, Jake and his crew found a new way to make his life miserable. They stole his lunch money, they shoved him into lockers, they spread rumors about him, and worst of all, nobody did anything. It was like an unspoken rule. You don't mess with Jake. But Alex was getting tired of feeling helpless, tired of being afraid. And without even realizing it, something inside him was beginning to shift. The day of his ultimate humiliation was just around the corner, and after that, nothing would ever be the same. It happened on a Friday. The school was buzzing with excitement. Everyone was ready for the weekend. But for Alex, it was just another day of surviving. As he walked into the cafeteria, tray in hand, he felt it before he even saw them. The bullies were watching. Jake smirked from across the room, whispering something to his gang. Then, just as Alex reached his usual lonely table, it happened. A foot shot out. Alex never saw it coming. His body lurched forward, the tray flying from his hands. Splat! Food spilled everywhere. Mashed potatoes smeared across his shirt. A half-eaten sandwich stuck to his hair. The cafeteria went silent for half a second before exploding into laughter. Jake clapped his hands. "Ladies and gentlemen, presenting Alex, the human garbage disposal." Tears burned behind Alex's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. He pushed himself up, wiping food from his face as the humiliation settled deep in his chest. Jake wasn't done. "Hey, don't waste it, dude. Here, have some more." He grabbed a carton of milk and dumped it over Alex's head. The cafeteria roared. Phones were out, recording every second. This wasn't just bullying anymore. This was public execution. Alex stood there, dripping, fists clenched so tightly his nails dug into his palms. And that was the moment. The moment something inside him finally snapped. Jake and his gang thought they had broken him. They had no idea what was coming. That night, Alex didn't sleep. He lay in bed, replaying the humiliation over and over in his mind. The laughter, the milk dripping down his face, the flashing phone cameras. He had never felt rage like this before. Not just at Jake and his gang. Alex blamed himself for being weak, for letting them do this to him. But that was about to change. The next day, Alex made a decision. He was going to learn how to fight. But where? The school's boxing club? No, Jake and his crew were there. A gym? He didn't have the money. Then he remembered something. A small, run-down dojo at the edge of town. People said it was owned by an old guy who rarely took students. Most thought he was just a washed-up fighter. Alex didn't care. He showed up at the dojo that evening, stepping into the dimly lit space. The walls were cracked, the floorboards worn from years of training. In the center of the room stood a man in his 60s, scars on his knuckles and eyes that had seen war. The old man looked Alex up and down. "You don't belong here, kid." "I need to learn how to fight," the man chuckled. "Go sign up for a karate class." Alex shook his head. "I don't have time for that. I don't want belts. I don't want trophies. I want to fight." For the first time, the old man's expression changed. He studied Alex carefully. "Come back tomorrow," he finally said. "Let's see if you're serious." Alex didn't hesitate. This was the beginning of his transformation. Jake and his crew had no idea, but the next time they crossed paths, Alex wouldn't be the same kid anymore. The next morning, Alex was at the dojo before sunrise. The old man, who introduced himself as Mr. Tanaka, didn't waste time. He didn't give Alex fancy speeches about honor or discipline. He made him work. "Fight! You can't even stand properly," Tanaka scoffed again and again. Day after day, Alex trained harder than he ever had in his life. His body ached, his knuckles bled, but he didn't stop. He couldn't stop. He learned how to move, how to strike, how to defend. Tanaka taught him techniques that were brutal, efficient, and real. "This is not for sport, boy," Tanaka warned. "This is for survival." A month passed. Alex was no longer the weak kid who got shoved into lockers. He had changed inside and out. His posture was different, his eyes were sharper, and for the first time he wasn't afraid. Monday morning he walked through the school doors like a different person. The halls were the same, the students were the same, but Alex was something else. And Jake was about to find out the hard way. Alex didn't go looking for Jake. He didn't have to. By lunchtime, word had spread. Alex was back, and something about him was different. Jake and his crew spotted him near the lockers. Alex was alone as usual, but this time he wasn't slouching, he wasn't avoiding eye contact. He stood tall, confident, unshaken. Jake smirked. "Look who's back. Thought we scared you off, loser." Alex didn't respond. He just stared. Jake didn't like that. "Oh, you got a little attitude now, huh? Guess we need to remind you who's in charge." The gang closed in, shoving Alex against the lockers. But this time, Alex didn't flinch. Jake reached for his collar, but the moment his hand moved, everything changed. In a flash, Alex grabbed Jake's wrist and twisted it hard. Crack! Jake yelped in pain. Before anyone could react, Alex struck a sharp elbow to the ribs, a precise kick to the knee. Jake stumbled back, gasping, shocked, furious, terrified. The cafeteria went dead silent. No one had ever seen anyone fight back against Jake. One of Jake's friends lunged at Alex. Bad idea. Alex dodged, countered, and sent him crashing into a table. The rest of the gang? They didn't even try. Jake, humiliated and gasping for breath, stared at Alex. What the hell? Alex stepped forward, looking him dead in the eyes. You messed with the wrong kid. Jake knew at that moment his reign was over. He staggered back, holding his ribs, his face pale. For the first time in his life, he wasn't the predator. He was the prey. The entire cafeteria watched in stunned silence. Phones were out, recording every second, but this time Alex wasn't the one being humiliated. Jake's gang hesitated, unsure of what to do. Their leader had just been beaten. Alex didn't throw another punch. He didn't have to. He had already won. Jake's breathing was shaky, his hands trembled, but his pride wouldn't let him back down. You think this changes anything? He spat. You're still nothing. Alex tilted his head, calm. Then why are you the one shaking? Jake's fists clenched, his face turned red, but he didn't move. He wouldn't dare. A voice from the crowd cut through the tension. Leave him alone, Jake. Alex turned, surprised. It was Mike, one of Jake's own friends. Then another voice. Yeah, man, this is pathetic. More and more students started speaking up. Jake had ruled with fear, but fear only lasts until someone stands up. Now the whole school had seen him lose. Jake's shoulders sank. He looked around, realizing he had no power anymore. Without another word, he turned and stormed out. His gang hesitated, then followed. Their reign was over. Alex took a deep breath, the weight he had carried for so long gone. As he grabbed his backpack and walked away, students nodded at him, some even clapping. For the first time ever, Alex wasn't invisible. He wasn't a victim, and no one would ever mess with him again. So, what did you think of Alex's transformation? Have you ever seen a bully get what they deserved? Tell us in the comments below.